Ja, herzlich willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe SI Talk und bei mir habe ich Roosen. Roosen brauche ich nicht lang vorstellen. Osisko, wir kennen uns schon seit 12, 13, 14, 15 Jahren. Jetzt ist er Osisko Gold Royalties. Sie wissen, die kennen die Firma, die ist ein Royalties Unternehmen. Und was er dort wieder geleistet hat, ist unglaublich. Deswegen freut es mich wirklich, dass ich ihn bei mir habe. Und Sean, thank you to have time for me. It's really a pleasure for me that you have time for me. We know us many years back to the early days of Osisko. Now you are running Osisko Gold Royalties. And it is coming out of the old Osisko, starting with the Malatic NSR. And when I look at your presentation, I must say it was really unbelievable how many royalty streams you set up in the last few years. And then I look at the chart price of your stock, and I was a little bit frustrating for me to see the price of your stock too. So, what is your general feeling? I know exactly you know the market very well. We see a big correction in the share price, not only in your share price. We saw it globally on all gold stocks, all precious metals going down. What is your general feeling about the gold? Are we close to a bottom?
Well, I think where we are right now is we've seen quite a sell-off here this spring. We had a pretty big bull market in the second half of 2016 and the first half of 2017, and we've been in a softer market since then. Obviously, we've kept running our business, and Osisko Gold Royalties has never been any better than it is today. And the most important thing I think to take away is that we make money each and every day. We have 19 producing royalties right now as we sit here, and over 130 royalties in the company. But we'll get about 80,000 ounces of gold royalty and streaming ounces into the company this year with 87% margin. So extremely high margin business, extremely high quality business, with our cornerstone asset being Canadian Malartic. And some very exciting things that we've added to the portfolio over the last year. I think some of the discount that's on the stock right now, and a lot of the opportunity that's there for shareholders, is we do have quite a bit of ramp up and new growth assets within the portfolio that are working their way through. So I think there's more perceived risk in the portfolio than there really is. We're trading at about 0.9 times NAV. The peer group is trading as high as 1.8 times NAV. So there's a full 0.9 times NAV value gap for us to close. In the general markets, I think we've seen most of the companies pull back to some extent due to the gold price moving from about $1,350 down to below the psychological barrier of $1,200. So we saw a lot of selling in and around that $1,200 mark. But as they say, this too shall pass. So I think where we see the market for us is that we've continued to do good deals in the first half of the year. With the investment in Victoria Gold, $98 million for a 5% royalty on the Eagle project in the Yukon, and then $50 million worth of equity. We also completed the $180 million financing for Falco that we haven't closed yet, but it's the financing itself is publicly announced, and we're moving forward. So it's been a pretty big year already for Osisko Gold Royalties. Most recently, we announced another royalty financing for Barkerville Gold. So it's been pretty active, and we tend to make these investments when the market is pulled back a bit. The royalty business is more of a defensive strategy, and we tend to do most of our deals in a pullback market. So this is ideal time for us to be deploying capital. And as we look forward, the balance sheet's in pretty good shape. So as you see in our presentation, 75% of our investment strategy goes into traditional royalty and streamings that we would see with our friends from Franco-Nevada, Wheaton Precious Metals, Royal Gold. And another 25% of our investment goes into what we call the accelerator companies, which is really companies where we've taken a more hands-on approach and either an incubating role where we've identified an asset and brought in some management from our team to back the play and added some cash. And we continue to evolve those ideas. Obviously, Victoria would be our most successful, and you're going to hear from Victoria after you talk to me. So they're in construction right now, so a very exciting story, fully financed, another Canadian story as we go forward. So all in all, it's been a good year from that standpoint. Share price disappointing, but also therein is the opportunity. Buy low, sell high, as they say. So we see this as a great entry point for somebody that may not be as familiar with the story. We do pay a 2% dividend in the company as well, and we're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and we have about 60% of our liquidity trades in the U.S. on the New York Stock Exchange side, with 40% on the TSX. So all in all, a fairly liquid story for a lot of shareholders that do like to trade in and out. And in terms of where we are, again, 80,000 ounces at 87% margins this year is a pretty good outcome. And over the next 5 years, we see the potential for our asset base to take us to about 170 to 180,000 ounces of similar margin gold, so around plus 85% margins as we go forward, which is also one of the best growth profiles of all of the royalty companies in the space right now. And we tried to show that to you. I believe it in this deck. It's on page 9 or page 8, sorry. And that gives you some optionality about what we have to do to get from here to there. So we start at 80,000 now. We go to 180, 190,000 ounces. And remember that we are a royalty and streaming company, so we have a relatively small team. So on a per employee revenue basis, we're in pretty good shape. We currently have about 18 employees, 19 employees within the Osisko Gold Royalties group, and then most of the other employees would be involved in the accelerator companies, as we call them, such as Osisko Mining, Barkerville Gold, Osisko Metals, and then on to things where we're co-invested with companies like Victoria, where we're a 15.5% shareholder, and they would have the bulk of the employees. So the royalty and streaming company, I would say, is almost like a Berkshire Hathaway structure, where we make investments and we keep a pretty high revenue team in place there as we move forward.
Sean, one question. So your differentiality about your Osisko or royalty model to the other ones is especially the acceleration business. So that's to say, okay, you go also directly to invest directly money as a private placement and take a higher risk for sure, but then also a higher reward.
That's correct. So, a good example of that would be our investment into Arizona Mining in 2016 and 2017. We invested about $5.6 million in the equity, and we bought a 1% royalty for $10 million. That royalty is quite valuable now. And we had sold the equity position for over $33 million off of a $5.6 million investment. And depending on how you look at the Arizona mining assets, that royalty could be worth anywhere between $50 and $100 million eventually. So a pretty good investment from our side. Total investment was about $15.6 million, and a good chance at north of $100 million of return. So that's the kind of things that can happen in the accelerator model when it's really working well. So those are obviously far superior returns than what we would see in a traditional royalty or streaming, where typically we'll see single-digit to low double-digit returns on a traditional investment. So that does differentiate us, we believe.
When I look on page 5, in which area you're invested in, then it's a clear focus that over 100 of your assets are in the Northern America. So is this clear the focus be in North America? Is this also an issue from the law system and the other environment?
Well, there's a couple of things that contribute to that. Obviously, we like our Canadian investments. The Canadian dollar gives us a natural hedge against a stronger U.S. dollar. Mm-hmm. Typically, we see the Canadian dollar start to weaken, as it is right now. Whenever we see the U.S. dollar strengthen, which generally means the gold prices are down, so it gives us a little extra protection during those periods. The other thing that we like about investing in Canada is that we have this flow-through tax structure where we can protect our taxes, especially on our royalty and streaming events. We haven't paid cash taxes in Canada yet. We started this company 4.5 years ago. We had a $50 million tax pool. We've had revenues of almost $350 million in those 4.5 years, and we have a tax pool of over $500 million now. And a lot of that's attributed to the fact that we've been able to buy the equity through exploration flow-through shares, which are 100% tax deductible against our income. So even though we're onshore, we have a very efficient tax model.
Mm-hmm. Sean, one question. When I look at the end of your presentation, there are a lot of or all your investments through royalties, streams, and so on. Which one you are most proud of it from this exploration target? Where say, okay, this is one what is really looks great and it has a huge potential.
I think right now, obviously, Victoria Gold's front and center. We're building the mine. It's fully financed as a 520 million Canadian dollar financing in place. The exploration upside in that project is quite high. We only have 1.7 million ounces recoverable in the current mine plan, but we think that has the ability to get significantly larger. The Yukon is a great jurisdiction, probably if not the best jurisdiction in the world, very close. With a territory, that's half the size of Alaska, but only 35,000 people there. It's a great place to explore. It's a great place to invest. So we're pretty excited about that one. The next one, I guess, would be Windfall Lake in Quebec right now. We've had a huge amount of success there with Osisko mining. The discovery there, the new deposit Lynx has come on very strongly. We've invested more than $150 million in drilling there, and we've had spectacular results. Falco Resources in northern Quebec as well has come a long way, over 6 million ounces in the measured and indicated category in that project. It's located, on infrastructure in town, and we're just going through the permitting process there, but a full feasibility was filed at the end of 2017. And then also we have our most recent drill program has been at Barkerville Gold in British Columbia, where we have about 8 rigs turning right now. And we've had some pretty spectacular drill results coming out of that project as well. So overall, as a group, between Victoria, Osisko Mining, Barkerville Gold, Falco Resources, we've been operating, investing in one of the largest exploration and most successful exploration programs in the world, and particularly in Canada over the last 3 years. So it's, I think we've got a lot of success to show for it. It hasn't translated into share price yet, but certainly the results speak for themselves, I think, if you look at those companies.
Sean, I think it was a great update. I like it. It's unbelievable what you've done in the few past years after the original Osisko mining. And translated is you are now really undervalued. You pay 2% dividend. You have great project what's coming, so your production will increase. Your streaming production will increase from 80,000 to around 180, 190,000 in 5 years. And your acceleration program is really a big differential to the other royalty programs or royalty companies. Then with them you get also the leverage through a higher share price from if the company really successful. Is this in a nutshell a good description of a company?
Yeah, I think so, and it's worth remembering that we make about $250,000 to $260,000 US dollars a day. So for 19 people, it's a pretty big revenue, and we make money 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And at these gold prices, our margins are still sitting at 87%. So we haven't really suffered as much from the gold price compression as some of the other groups. So we're running a pretty good business, and we're very happy with what we've been able to achieve in the last 4.5 years.
Yeah, Sean, thank you for the update. Good luck with your new deals, and good luck also with all the royalty streams what coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ja, das war jetzt ein kurzes Update von Osisko Gold. Unglaublich die Story. Produktion See geht deutlich nach oben, 2% Dividendenrendite. Sie verdienen jeden Tag Geld, sie haben eine riesen Marge von 78%. Was will man da noch mehr sagen? Und was ganz spannend war, das waren seine Projekte, die er für Zukunft sehr spannend hält, wo er das meiste Potenzial erwartet. Also in Summe kann man nur sagen, Top-Aktie, Top-Mann, Top-Management-Team. Ja, da fehlt nichts mehr. Also das war's von Osisko Gold Royalties am Oktober 2018. Tschüss und Baba. Sean, thank you.
Thanks, so.